No other advertising agency owner will do this, but in this video, I'm going to break down our exact creative production strategy for our agency and the clients that we work with. And I have refined this process over, I was going to say the last few years, but I've been doing this a hell of a long time. I found this, I was feeling nostalgic the other day, so I went and looked at one of my old YouTube channels, and you can see that this is me creating a video teaching people how to create story ads on Facebook from May 2017. Right? So I was creating Facebook ad training even back then, which is like 7 years ago, which is really scary to say and makes me feel pretty old. But since then, started lots of different businesses, started an advertising agency, worked with a ton of different clients, generated well over $20 million in sales from our ads. And a big part of that is down to the strategy that I'm going to break down in this video. So we all know that creative is king. Over the last few years, Facebook obviously has gone through some big changes, less emphasis on targeting and campaign structures, and more so like the person who has the best creatives, the best images, the best videos, and obviously like the offer and stuff, they typically win. So this is where we kind of put this process together because we knew that there's a big emphasis on actually, making sure that the creatives that we have for our clients are the best possible ones. So there's kind of two phases to how we do it with our clients. So first off, you want to test the macro. And then the second phase is testing the micro. So I'm going to run through and give you some examples and stuff in a second here. But the macro is basically finding out what like the big idea or what the big angle is that resonates most with your audience. And then the micro is testing and figuring out, okay, what kind of like, the best way to describe it is like what vehicle or what delivery vehicle that looks like, that again resonates most with your audience. So let me give you an example. So if I am a fitness coach, right? Also, say we're going to work with a fitness coach, we need to figure out what the best overall angle is that resonates most with people. Because if we're teaching like women how to lose weight, there's obviously lots of different messaging that would connect with those people and, would make them buy. But we don't know what the best angle is for our business and our offer. So typically what we like to start with is we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll have typically 5 angles that we start with and we test first. And typically these are something along the lines of we'll do an angle focused on pain, a second angle focused on pain. We'll do a third one on social proof. And then we'll do maybe a fourth one on a desire. And then a fifth one on a desire. The way we come up with these angles initially is market research. So we'll go out and research the different people who are competitors to our clients and see what they're doing. We'll search for those people on Instagram, on YouTube, and we'll also go in the Facebook ads library as well and see what angles those type of people are using. We'll also speak to our client directly and ask them to fill out a survey when they start working with us. And they will basically fill out a bunch of different questions to give us more clarity on who their ideal customer is. If they already have a ton of customers, we will also survey their customers, and in return, we'll give them like a free course or a free training or something. And we'll get them to fill out a survey, which we'll have a bunch of different questions on for us to better understand them, their pain points, their desires, why they joined our client's program initially. And then also you can use stuff like ChatGPT as well. So you can use ChatGPT to basically put in a description of your client's ideal customer. And then you just ask them for like what good marketing angles could you use in advertising. And then it will spit out different angles. And then you can look at those and see which ones you feel like would work the best. So that's kind of like how we do the research. So what this would look like in practicality would say, if we're like a fitness coach helping women, we would have maybe one like a diet focused one, where maybe a big pain point in their life is that they keep like switching from diet to diet, but they can never stick to it. So that would be like one overall big angle. Again, there's lots you can do on that, but that's like the big overarching angle. You could do another one where it's like, they've increased the cardio, they're going for multiple runs per week, but for whatever reason, they can't lose weight. So that's another pain point. They're doing all of this work, but they're still not losing any weight. Sorry. Another one is, this is a social proof one. So we always like to add just like a more direct ad that is focused more on social proof, because usually like a big percentage of the market just kind of need evidence that something works. They don't really care about the other stuff. So, we might do like a case study on how our client has helped 1,270 women, lose weight. Right. And you could go more specific, obviously, be like, they lost 10 pounds in 10 weeks, or it would depend on your client and the results that they got. Or you could do like an individual case study. Hey, meet Tina. Tina was struggling with this. Then she found the program and lost this much weight. Right. So again, there's different ways you could present social proof, but that's just one angle where we would maybe focus on like the sheer volume of women that our client has helped lose weight in a short period of time. So that would be like a third one. A fourth desire would be maybe if they were on holiday and they just wanted to feel, they've just booked a holiday and they wanted to feel comfortable walking around the pool on holiday in front of people in public, like feel comfortable wearing, a bikini or something like that. So that would be another desire. And then you could do also more like like a more intimate one, which is more like they want to feel comfortable having sex with their husband with the light on, right? Most people who are uncomfortable with the way they look, very often, they'll turn the light off because it makes them feel a little bit less self-conscious. So they just want to get back to the point where they feel comfortable being intimate with their partner without feeling self-conscious about themselves, okay? So they would be like 5 potential pain points that we would, 5 different angles that we would run. And we would create an ad on each of them, and then we would run it to the market. So basically, we just test this. And we're not looking to make a shitload of money because this is like super unoptimized, but we're just going to run it, these angles, to see which one gets the best feedback. Now, what do the ads actually look like? Because there's different types of ads, right? You could do text and an image. You could do like a reel style video. You could do more like UGC type of content. You could do like a longer form video, a talking head video. That's really going to depend on the client and the market and the industry. So, for example, if we take on a client and they've already got a load of ad data in their account, then we can look at that data and we can work out what type of ad worked the best. So if they had a load of like story-based ads, which was like, as in like the story dimensions, it was mainly just like the client speaking directly to the camera, and we know that type of ad worked the best, then we would do these initial 5 angles in that style. If we found that static images worked the best for that client previously, then we would create these angles in the style of like text and static images. Again, it's going to be dependent on the client. If they've got no data, then there's a couple of things we would look at. Number one, again, we'd look at the ads library and have a look at what our competitors are doing. So if all of our competitors are doing like UGC style content, and that seems to be the best for our market in our industry, then we're going to do that. But you also got to consider time as well. So I also, in the initial testing phase, I just want to get stuff up and I just want to get it tested as quickly as possible. So you actually want to look at also like which is going to be the quickest type of ad to create, which is why a lot of the time for our clients, when we do this initial testing phase, we typically either do text in a static image because it's quick, because we don't really have to rely on the client for anything. We just write the copy ourselves and we create the images. Or we would do like a 60-second story selfie style video where our client will just read a script that we script for them. And that's pretty quick because number one, we'll write the script word for word, and then we'll just get the client to film it, and it doesn't really require any editing. The initial testing phase, if you're like brand new account and you're not sure what messaging is going to work the best, don't spend hours editing like carefully crafted videos, and don't go and pay like an expensive video editor to create like a movie style video. It's going to waste too much time. You don't even know if the angles are going to work, and it's just going to waste time and money. So like it's like the minimal viable ad. Try and produce that, which for us is typically the ones that I just mentioned. But again, it depends on the market, the product, what your competitors are doing that's working as well. So it's got to be a balance between the both of what's currently working right now versus what is very quick and easy to test. So let's just say, for example, we tested these 5 and we found that the winner was this holiday angle. Now, again, we're not looking for a winner in terms of like it scales to 100K per month, but it's just basically the best performer and what we feel like has the best potential. Obviously, if none of them work and they all lose a ridiculous amount of money and all the KPIs are off, then you would basically go through that process again and come up with 5 different angles, and you would test again. Or, at that point, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's something to do with the website or the sales funnel you're sending them through, but we're just going to focus on ads at this point. So let's just say like number 4 out of all of these 5, that had the most potential. It got the best feedback. It might not be getting like a 10 ROAS, but it's, we feel like with a few tweaks and optimizations, we can get it fairly profitable. And you might have multiple that work, and you just follow the same process for all the angles that do work. But just to keep this nice and simple for you, I'm just going to follow it as if like just one has worked. And then basically what you want to do now is, again, this is a general rule, and it depends on the number of angles that worked well, the data that we have, the ad budget, a lot of different variables. But we would then go ahead, and this is us now testing the micro. So the macro was the big angle, overall, the overarching angle, what works. And then once we found that, we're going to test the micro. And there's 2 ways in which we test the micro. So we test, I suppose they're all angles, but we test micro angles, and then we also test delivery. So we'll tackle the delivery first. So the delivery is basically just like the style of ad. So actually kind of what I just talked about earlier. So say, for example, the initial ad that we tested was like text and a static image, and that worked really well. Then we'd use the exact same angle with the exact same like wording and messaging, but we just turn it into a few different variations. So we might turn it into like a 30-second story video where our client does basically the copy that was with the text and the image. We'd turn that into a video script and the client would read it off. We might turn that into like a 2-minute talking head video. So our client maybe might be at home in their office at the desk, and they might have a setup with a camera, and they'll just speak directly to the camera. Maybe we do some edits on top. We might turn it into like a reel top of ad, UGC, basically all the different types of potential ads you could run. We would use the exact same angle that was working, and we can just see now whether that same messaging works better on a different placement or a different type of ad. So, our audience might prefer to consume real type of ads, and therefore, even though it's the exact same messaging and the exact same offer, that type of ad just could work better. It might get cheaper clicks, lower cost per impressions, whatever it is, right? Or maybe, especially in like the coaching info space where you need a lot of trust with the individual person to, want to pay them money. Maybe for like the 2-minute longer video actually works better because it adds more credibility. We have more time to educate them, more time to build the relationship, and we kind of show them to be like a real person versus, just an image or like a real ad that could be over in just a few seconds. And again, what we test here is just based on the market research. So we go into the ads library, have a look at what our competitors are doing, have a look what ads have worked well for us in the past, and we would make the decisions like based off that. And we'd basically create like a new testing campaign where we would basically test anywhere between 2 to 4 different creative types with the exact same messaging as we had up here. And again, like if the copy worked, like if the winning, this ad was a text and a static image, then we would literally just turn that copy into like a word for word video script and get the client to film it. So this should be pretty quick to basically recreate it in the different ad types. Obviously, some of the videos might require a bit more creative energy or a bit more time to edit, but that's basically the idea. So this is the first micro test that we would do. And then we would do what we would call micro angles, which I mentioned earlier. So this is basically, again, we'd like do 2 to 4 different micro angles. So it's basically taking, saying the word angle so much, we're taking the winning angle and basically communicating it in a few different ways, a few different stories, a few different scenarios. So let's just say, what was this one? The desire where they wanted to feel comfortable on holiday was like the winning angle. So we need to come up with a few different ways to communicate this desire. So maybe we'd have an ad that is based on when you're in your, like, feel like you did when you're in your 20s, when you went on your first girls' holiday, right? Because typically, girls who are in their late teens, early 20s, a lot of the time that is for some people the best shape they've ever been in terms of like how thin they are and how lean they are. And a lot of people then later on in life obviously struggle with weight. So therefore, a lot of the time, older women will reminisce about the body that they had in their early 20s. And that's where they felt good. That's where they felt sexy. That's where they felt like the best shape. So we could do an ad angle based around, that wanting to get back into that shape. And then obviously our fitness weight loss program will help them do that. So that's number one. Another one could be shopping. So I know for like a lot of, probably not even women, just people, when you're wanting to like, people do holiday shopping, right? They want to buy clothes that they're going to look good and feel good in holiday. Now, if you're not happy with the shape of yourself and you're not happy with your weight or the way that you look, shopping can actually be a really miserable experience because you might look at something that looks good on the mannequin, but then when you try it on, it doesn't fit well and you got like rolls and lumps in the wrong places. Or maybe, it's just a reminder that you have to buy a bigger size now. Like 2 years ago, you were a size, I don't know, fucking 8, and now you're a size 16. And shopping can be quite a miserable experience. So it's about, okay, we basically, we'll do an angle about that on how we can help you make, shopping for your holiday like an enjoyable experience and get you excited. Something along the lines of that, right? Again, I'm not saying that's a perfect angle. It's kind of me just coming up with stuff. Here we could do, so another angle about a holiday. I wrote some notes, so. Okay, yeah. So we'll do a cover up one. So it's just like being able to comfortably walk around the pool without covering up, right? Some people will, on holiday, if they're not comfortable in what they're wearing, they'll put like a shawl around them or a towel around them as they're walking around the pool because they don't feel comfortable, people looking at them. So you can see here that it's all based around this main angle of wanting to like feel good and look good on holiday. But there's loads of different micro angles that we can test on that. And then we will run them. And by that point, that is where you should start to figure out, number one, what specific angle is working the best. And then number two, what style of ad is working the best. So for example, here, if we ran this test and we found that, 30-second like selfie style videos worked, and then we ran, this angle as feeling good in your 20s, you can see that now we know this is the overall riding angle, but in the beginning, this was text and a static image. So here we've done the same angle as this 30-second video, so we know that works. Here we've tested the 20s angle, but this was a text and a static image. So basically the next step is to combine these two and run tests like that. And you might have a few that work, right? Maybe the shopping one works, but the cover-up one didn't, right? So in this phase, maybe you push these together and you do these two angles as 30-second videos. And at this point, you should start to see like a slow increase in conversions and ad costs. 1 second. I want to make sure that my laptop doesn't die. There we go. So that's basically our process. So you can see that if you go because what most people do is they'll have no strategy and they will literally just launch different ads, and some work, some don't. And if it doesn't work, they'll just make a random new ad again. And it's kind of like just throwing spaghetti at the wall and just hoping something's going to stick, versus actually having like a dialed in process of okay, we know this isn't maybe optimal. Maybe it's not getting like a 5 ROAS, but we know that we have a process to turn it from maybe getting like break even, getting it to like a 2 or a 3 ROAS. But sometimes again, it depends on your experience, the data that you have, the offer. You could have something in your initial test that just works really well, and then you can scale it. And fantastic, go and scale it, But sometimes, like when you launch your ad campaign for the first time, it's not going to work that well. Or at least like it might have signs, and maybe it breaks even, maybe it loses a little bit of money, maybe it makes a little bit of money. Very typically, it's not very uncommon for again, your first 5 angles to not work. Maybe none of them work, right? And then you would just do 5 more. But if they do work, then great. Then you would take the one that's working and try and optimize it and try and create more variations of that winning ad. So this might, in the beginning, this could just be breaking even, the initial test. And then once you send it through, when you turn it into a 30-second video, it goes to a 1.5 or a 2 ROAS. And then once you test the micro angles and figure out this 20 angles worked really well, and you combine that with the 30-second video, then maybe that goes to a 2.5 ROAS. Again, that's a very simplified way of describing it in terms of the numbers, but you get the point that we're trying to get to, where your initial launch of the ads doesn't have to be a home run every single time. Fantastic if it is, but it doesn't have to be. But the key is having a process that you follow after you do your initial launch of the ads to understand how to turn an ad from, break even / losing a little bit of money to / making a little bit of money and actually turning it into a winner. And this process doesn't stop. So we might start with these 5. We'll send this number 4. We'll send that through the micro tests. And as we're doing this, if we have turned these 4 off, then we're just going to do this whole process again. We'll start and in the same testing campaign, we'll launch, more ads with 5 completely different angles, and we'll go through that process. And maybe none of those work, maybe 2 of those work, maybe 3 of those work, maybe, whatever it is, and you just go through the process again. So it's a completely repeatable process. It's like a factory worker, the machine is just going a conveyor belt where you're constantly just putting more ads through the test. And hopefully you're going to have some angles that progress through to the micro tests. And then obviously if it passes all of these tests and this stuff is working, and that's where you can spend more money on it, and then you can scale. So hope that was helpful. If you've got any questions on ad creation, testing angles, or this process in general, let me know in the comments below. And thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.